Hi everyone! Today I am going to tell you a wonderful story. This is a popular Vietnamese folktale. I will not read it, but will be retelling it in English. The name of the story is nước, thần or ai mua hành tôi. In English, we can understand it as the magical jar or who wants to buy my onions. Once upon a time, there was a young farmer who lived by the rice field. One day, he came to the forest to fetch some firewood. While he was chopping a tree, he saw a big raven dragging a sparrow to a rock nearby. Touched by the feeling of pity for the sparrow, he tried to save the bird by throwing some stones at the raven, making it so startled that it let hold of the sparrow and flew up. However, the raven was very angry about losing its prey, so it scolded uproariously. The man threw more stones at the bird and reprimanded, "You wicked, fly away!" The raven flew away in anger, swearing revenge. The farmer picked up the scattered sparrow and tried to revive the poor bird. A while later, the sparrow was better and thanked him. It asked him to wait for a minute and flew away. When it came back, it took along a little jar in its beak. The sparrow laid the little jar in front of the young man and said, "This is a magical jar that can make an old man become young again. It can also make everything grow bigger. It is unique and precious. Up to now, you are the only one to get hold of it." Leaving the jar as a thank you gift to the farmer, the sparrow flew away. The young man opened the jar and a fragrance was released into the air. Inside the jar was a kind of fragrant water, which the young man thought should belong to a mandarin's well-groomed wives, not him. He closed the jar carefully and took it home along with the firewood. He hung it under the ceiling and gradually forgot about it as his busy days went by. Several years later, the young man got married to a girl from a peasant family. She was a hard-working girl with brown skin because of suntan due to the farming work in the rice field from dawn till dusk. To say the truth, she was not really good-looking, but the couple were in true love and the young man appreciated his wife's company. One day, while the man was cultivating new crops in the field, his wife stayed home to clean the house. She saw the jar hanging from the ceiling and decided to take it down. As she opened the jar, she could smell the sweet fragrance. She thought it might be for hair wash and tried to use it for her hair. As she poured the magical water onto her hair and used it for bathing, she was transformed into a beautiful woman. Some drops of the magical water flowed into the bed of spring onions in the backyard and transformed the onions too. These onions grew bigger and bigger and became so gigantic that their bulbs were as big as lime pots and their leaves are as huge as shoulder poles. When the husband came back home, he was amazed by the charming lady in his house and thought that was a fairy. If she did not tell him about the fragrant jar, he could not believe that she was his beloved mistress. He recalled the memory of the jar and what the sparrow told him about its magic. Then he talked to his wife about secret magical water, which made them both very happy. However, in the following months, the young farmer became so attached to his wife that he started to fall behind in his work. With the wish to admire his wife's beauty all day, he hired a painter to portray his wife so that he could take along the painting to the rice field where he worked. He hung his wife's portrait on a stake and looked at it while ploughing the field. One day, the raven that he scared away to save the sparrow came and took away his wife's portrait. Even though he attempted to chase the bird, he failed to catch it and it flew away. To take revenge on the farmer, the raven took the picture to the capital city and dropped it into the courtyard in front of the royal palace. The picture was presented to the king by the imperial guards. When the king saw the beautiful young lady in the picture, he was so attracted to her charming look that he thought, This beauty is even more attractive than any other ladies I've had in this royal palace. Certainly the raven was sent by God to recommend her to me." Thus he set his courtiers and soldiers to search for the beauty in the picture all around the country. The king's courtiers went around the country, holding a lot of festivals to make gatherings, and asked about the lady in the picture. When they came to the farmer's region, he realized the picture immediately and asked to get it back. Instead of having his picture back, he had his wife taken away by the courtiers. As his wife was forced to go to the royal palace in a palanquin, the poor man broke down and cried. Since the farmer's wife was held captive in the royal palace, she had been so sorrowful that she did not speak or smile. Neither did she care about combing her hair or wearing beautiful clothes the king offered her. She was so silent that the king was very displeased. Despite his efforts to comfort or threaten her, she did not utter a word. So the king announced that he would give a generous award to anyone who could make the lady speak or smile. Hoping for the generous award, hundreds of people including actors, clowns, storytellers, magicians, health professionals, and so on came to entertain the king's lady. However, they all faced failure. As the farmer heard the king's announcement, he knew that his wife was captured in the royal palace. He decided to go there, taking along the gigantic onions from his backyard. He walked back and forth in front of the palace. He sang out loudly, "Leaves as long as shoulder poles, bulbs as big as lime pots. Who buys my onions? Please love me more." As his song came to her ears, the wife became more cheerful and she asked the maid to get the man who sold the onions. As soon as she saw him, she began to smile brightly. The king was overjoyed to see the woman's bright smile, and he thought that the giant onions were something fun for her. Thus, an idea flashed through his mind. He would disguise as the seller of these onions to please his lady. He told the farmer, "Lay the load of onions down and take off your clothes." The king took off his imperial clothes for the farmer and put on the farmer's clothes. He also ordered the farmer to teach him the song. Then he carried the onions with a shoulder pole, walking back and forth in front of the beautiful woman, singing the farmer's song. Seeing him in disguise, the woman started to laugh loudly, so the king was eager to satisfy his lady, acting more in excitement. Suddenly, the woman turned to her maid and asked her to release a herd of dogs. The dogs found the king with strange appearance and thought that he was a stranger, so they chased and bit him to death. The farmer's wife urged her husband to sit onto the throne and act as the king. As the farmer sat down, hundreds of mandarins and maids bowed to him. Since then, he became the king, and they lived happily ever after.